This video is sponsored by Surfshark. Stay tuned to find out more. Creepypastas. Some of the most entertaining and scary stories on the internet, creating iconic stories and figures such as Slenderman or Jeff the Killer. And for those of who don't know what a creepypasta is, well, a creepypasta is a horror-related legend which has been shared around the internet. The term creepypasta has since become a catch-all term for any horror content posted onto the internet. These entries are often brief, user-generated paranormal stories that are intended to frighten readers. The subjects of creepypastas can vary widely and can include topics such as ghosts, cryptids, murder, zombies, aliens, rituals to summon entities, haunted television shows, and video games. So these topics of the creepypastas can really range to anything. Creepypastas range in length from a single paragraph to extended multi-part series that can span multiple media types, some lasting for years. And this is exactly what we will be covering in today's video. Creepypastas and their stories, their origins, and everything else surrounding creepypastas, and they'll be on this iceberg. To be honest, this video was extremely nostalgic to make since I remember growing up and being scared of all these creepypastas, so I hope you enjoy this video as much as I do. And also, before we get into the video, I'll be doing a mix of different ways on covering each entry. Some of the entries such as Slenderman I'll just be quickly covering because it's just one singular figure that's well known, but for the entries that are just full-blown stories, I'll be reading them in their entirety. Unless the story is thousands of words long, then I'll just summarize the super long story into my own words, but still have the main story there, of course. I just can't have the super long stories in their entirety, or else this video would be like 20 hours long, and yeah. Alright, anyways, let's get into the video. And actually, before we dive into this massive video, consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like. It's my goal to be at 250,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I really think we can do it. And it also helps out the channel a lot, so please consider subscribing and liking the video. Thank you, and now on to the first tier. Tier 1. Slenderman. Slenderman, a modern urban legend, originated in online forums around 2009, primarily on the Something Awful website. Depicted as a tall, thin figure in a black suit with a featureless face, he's said to stalk and abduct people, especially children. Slenderman lore expanded through creepypasta stories, videos, and video games, cultivating a mythology of his own. Many believe he can manipulate reality and induce paranoia in those who encounter him. The character's popularity led to various adaptations in literature, film, and games. However, the fictional character took a very dark turn in 2014 when two Wisconsin girls attempted to murder a classmate, claiming they did so to impress Slenderman. This event raised ethical questions about internet culture, storytelling, and the influence of media on vulnerable individuals. And that leads us to our sponsor of today's video, Surfshark. Browsing the internet is an incredible tool, but if you're not careful, it can be dangerous. When using public Wi-Fi, hobbyists and professional hackers can access your IP address and de-encrypt your personal data. Luckily, the sponsor of today's video, Surfshark, can help. Surfshark swaps your IP address with a new one, making it extremely hard to track your location and access your device. Additionally, you can access content from different countries on streaming services such as Netflix, allowing you to watch shows and films that aren't available in your country. And if you use promo code SNOOK, you can receive 3 months for free. Surfshark also offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's zero risk in trying it out. Click the link in description to claim the deal and find out more. Now, back to the video. Momo, another internet urban legend, gained notoriety in 2018. Initially a sculpture by Japanese artist Keisuke Aisawa, Momo became associated with a viral hoax. The hoax claimed that an unknown entity named Momo appeared in WhatsApp messages, encouraging recipients, often children, to engage in harmful activities and self-harm. Despite being debunked as a hoax by experts, Momo sparked widespread panic and concern among parents and authorities worldwide. Ayuwoki. Ayuwoki, derived from the phrase "Annie, are you okay?", gained attention in 2019 through a viral video featuring a creepy animatronic figure resembling Michael Jackson. The video depicted the doll moving its head and limbs while emitting an eerie sounds. The meme's origins are uncertain, but it quickly spread across social media platforms, spawning various remixes and parodies. Despite its original humorous intent, some viewers found it unsettling due to its uncanny appearance and association with Michael Jackson. SCP Foundation. The SCP Foundation, a collaborative writing project online, is a fictional organization tasked with securing, containing, and protecting anomalous objects, creatures, and phenomena. And all of these different creatures are kind of like monsters and stuff like that, although some can be objects, like I just said. SCP stands for Secure, Contain, Protect. Each SCP entry describes a specific anomaly, ranging from benign to dangerous, with assigned containment procedures. The project's format typically involves classified documents detailing the SCP, its properties, and containment protocols. Contributors expand the SCP universe through storytelling, creating a rich tapestry of interconnected anomalies known as the SCPs and exploring their implication. The project's popularity has led to vast online communities, including fanfiction, artwork, games, and even short films. Jeff the Killer. And this is hands down the scariest one to me, at least when I was a kid on the internet. Jeff the Killer, always, whenever I saw this picture of Jeff the Killer, I was horrified. But anyways, Jeff the Killer is a popular internet urban legend and creepypasta character, and arguably one of the most popular, along with Slenderman. The story revolves around a young boy named Jeff, who, after being bullied and attacked by a group of thugs, undergoes a disturbing transformation. His face is burned with bleach, and his lips are cut into a perpetual smile. This traumatic event triggers a descent into madness, turning Jeff into a homicidal maniac with a motive for murdering his victims while wearing a wide, eerie grin. This tale gained mass popularity on websites like Creepypasta and quickly became a staple for internet horror lore. Jeff the Killer has inspired numerous fan works, including stories, artwork, and other short films, cementing his status as one of the most iconic figures in online horror cultural history. Sonic.EXE is a creepypasta and a popular internet urban legend based on the Sonic the Hedgehog video game franchise. In this story, a gamer discovers a haunted Sonic the Hedgehog game cartridge labeled Sonic.EXE. Upon playing the game, they encounter distorted and unsettling versions of Sonic characters, with Sonic himself appearing as a demonic figure known as Sonic.EXE. The game becomes increasingly disturbing, featuring disturbing imagery, glitches, and messages directed at the player. The story often culminates in the player's realization that they are trapped in the game, facing the malevolent Sonic.EXE. The tale has inspired numerous fan creations, including fan games, artwork, and videos, and yeah. Herobrine. Herobrine is a legendary figure in the Minecraft community, also a creepypasta, often described as a mysterious and malevolent entity resembling the default player character, but with glowing white eyes. The legend suggests that Herobrine haunts players in their single-player worlds, causing strange occurrences and mischief, such as building random structures or simply observing players from a distance and just being overall creepy. However, despite widespread rumors and alleged sightings, Herobrine does not actually exist in the official Minecraft game. The character originated from a 2010 creepypasta written by a player named Herobrine, describing encounters with the eerie figure. Since then, Herobrine has become a very popular subject for the internet and Minecraft community in general, for fan art, mods, and even official merchandise, showcasing the appeal of the urban legend within Minecraft. Siren Head. Siren Head is a fictional creature created by Canadian horror artist Trevor Henderson, described as a tall, emaciated humanoid with sirens for a head. Siren Head emits various sounds from its sirens, including emergency alerts, radio broadcasts, and distorted voices. The creature's design is just kind of weird, and it often lurks in a remote location, camouflaging itself among trees and other tall structures. Siren Head gained popularity through Henderson's artwork and short stories, which depict chilling encounters with the creature. The character has since become a staple of internet horror culture, inspiring fan art, video games, and even short films. Tier 2. Smile Dog. Smile Dog is a notorious internet urban legend originating from a creepypasta story shared online. The tale revolves around an image file named smile.jpg or JPEG or smile.dog, which allegedly induces insanity and haunting nightmares upon viewing the image. The image depicts a large dog with an unnaturally wide, human-like smile, often accompanied by unsettling, glowing eyes. According to the legend, those who receive the image file are compelled to share it with others to relieve themselves of the curse. Failure to do so results in a series of terrifying visions and eventual madness. While the origins of the legend remain unclear, Smile Dog has become a popular subject of internet horror discussions. Squidward's S-Word. Squidward's S-Word is a notorious creepypasta story based on the animated television series SpongeBob SquarePants. The story describes an unaired episode featuring Squidward Tentacles, one of the show's main characters, experiencing a series of disturbing and graphic events leading to his eventual S-word. The episode allegedly includes unsettling imagery, eerie music, and overall just dark themes, culminating in Squidward's graphic demise. The story gained notoriety for its shocking content and its contrast from the lighthearted tone of the original SpongeBob series. However, Squidward's S-word is entirely fictional and is just an overall creepypasta and wasn't an actual unaired episode that was even made. Ben Drowned. Ben Drowned is a well-known creepypasta story centered around a haunted copy of the video game The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. The story follows a college student who purchases a second-hand cartridge of the game, only to discover strange and unsettling occurrences within the game itself. The player encounters a ghostly character named Ben, who seems to possess the game and communicates with the player through in-game text. As the player delves deeper into the mystery and the game, they uncover a dark backstory involving a boy named Ben, who drowned. The story incorporates elements of video game glitches, haunted technology, and psychological horror as it keeps on compelling narrative in the immersive narrative experience. Ben Drowned is pretty famous in the Zelda community, and yeah. Tails Doll Curse. The Tails Doll Curse is an urban legend originating from the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, specifically tied to the character Tails Doll, a robotic doll version of the character Miles Tails Prower. According to the legend, playing as Tails Doll in the video game Sonic R and completing specific requirements would trigger a curse, leading to paranormal occurrences or even harm to the player. The legend gained traction through internet forums and creepypasta stories, with some claiming to have experienced eerie phenomena after attempting the curse in the game. However, like many urban legends and creepypastas, in gaming, the Tails Doll Curse has no basis in reality and was never even a game function anyways. The Rake. Another one of my favorite creepypastas, and for this one, I will be reading the creepypasta in its entirety because I think it just deserves it, and it's interesting to me, so I'll just read out the whole thing. And this is one of the first full stories I'm reading out, and towards the bottom, I'll start reading out more of the full stories, but just by the way, so if I just dive straight into a story, that's why. Like, I won't have a brief overview, I'll just get right into the creepypasta story itself. Alright, The Rake. During the summer of 2003, incidents in the northeastern United States involving a peculiar humanoid entity ignited brief local media attention before a sudden blackout occurred. Almost no information remained intact, as most online and written reports about the entity were inexplicably erased. Concentrated mainly in rural areas of New York State and previously cited in Idaho, individuals who claimed to have encountered this entity shared tales of their experiences with a mysterious being of unidentified origin. Their emotions varied from intense fear and discomfort to a somewhat innocent sense of curiosity and playfulness. While their original accounts have vanished from records, their memories persisted vividly. Some of those involved became seeking answers that same year. By early 2006, this collective effort had gathered nearly 24 documents dating back to the 12th century and spanning 4 continents. Remarkably, the narratives remained consistent across time and place. I've been in touch with a member of this group and managed to obtain some excerpts from their forthcoming book. First excerpt, A S-Word Note, 1964. Quote, "As I prepare to end my life, I feel compelled to absolve any guilt or pain I may have caused through this act. It is not the fault of anyone other than him. There were moments when I awoke and sensed his presence. There were moments when I awoke and glimpsed his figure. Once more I awoke and heard his voice and looked into his eyes. Sleep eludes me, haunted by the fear of what I might encounter upon waking next. I dare not again. Farewell." End quote. Found alongside this note were 2 empty envelopes addressed to William and Rose, and a solitary personal letter without any envelope. The envelope read, "Dearest Lanine, my prayers are with you." He uttered your name. And that's the end of the envelope. And the second excerpt from one of these, a journal entry translated from Spanish, 1880. Quote, "I have endured the utmost terror. I have endured the utmost terror. I have endured the utmost terror. I see his eyes when I shut mine. They are empty, black. They fixate on me, piercing through. His clammy hands. Sleep evades me. His voice. Unintelligible text." End quote. And the other excerpt, a mariner's log, 1691. "He visited me in my slumber. From the foot of my bed I felt a presence. He took everything. We must return to England. We shall not venture here again at the Rake's behest." End quote. The final excerpt, from a witness, 2006. Quote, 3 years ago, after returning from a trip to Niagara Falls with my family for the 4th of July, we were all exhausted and went to bed early. Around 4 a.m. I awoke, thinking my husband had rose to use the bathroom. Seizing the chance, I attempted to reclaim the sheets, inadvertently waking him. Although I apologized, I mentioned my assumption of his departure from bed. As he turned to me, he gasped, swiftly retracting his legs, nearly knocking me from the bed in the process. He then grasped me tightly, uttering no words. After adjusting to the dim light, I discerned the cause of his peculiar reaction. At the foot of our bed, sitting with its back to us, was what appeared to be a naked man, or a large, hairless canine of some sort. Its posture was unsettling and unnatural, akin to that of an injured animal. Strangely, I felt no immediate fear, but rather concern for its well-being, assuming we were meant to assist it. My husband, peeking over his arm and his knee, curled into a protective posture, occasionally glancing at me before returning his gaze to the creature. In a sudden flurry of movement, the entity scrambled around the bed's edge, swiftly crawling in an erratic manner until it was mere inches from my husband's face. It remained silent for what felt like an eternity, though likely only seconds, simply observing him. Then, it laid its hand upon his knee before darting into the hallway leading to our children's rooms. I shrieked and lunged for the light switch, intent on preventing harm to our children. As I reached the hallway, the bedroom's light illuminated the creature, crouched about 20 feet away, its form covered in blood. I flicked the switch, revealing my daughter Clara. The entity fled downstairs as my husband and I rushed to aid our daughter. She was grievously injured and uttered only one more sentence before passing. Quote, "He is the Rake." End quote. That night, my husband drove his car into a lake while rushing Clara to the hospital. Neither survived. Word spread swiftly in our small town. Initially, the police and local newspaper showed interest, but the story never made to print, nor did it receive coverage on television. For several months, my son Justin and I sought refuge in a nearby hotel, near my parents' home. Upon our return, I delved into my own quest for answers. Eventually, I connected with a man from a neighboring town who shared a similar encounter. We exchanged stories and discovered 2 others in New York who had witnessed what we now termed the Rake. Over 2 arduous years of online research and correspondence, we assembled a modest collection of purported Rake encounters. However, none provided substantial details, historical context, or subsequent developments. One journal contained a brief entry about the creature within its first few pages, never mentioning it again. A ship's log made no mention of the encounter, merely noting their departure upon the Rake's instruction, which marked the log's final entry. Nevertheless, numerous accounts described repeated visitations by the entity to the same individuals. Many spoke of being addressed directly, including my daughter. This prompted us to question whether the Rake had visited us any time prior to our final encounter. I positioned a digital recorder near my bed, leaving it to record overnight for 2 weeks. Each morning, I diligently sifted through the recordings, fast-forwarding at 8 times the normal speed. This still consumed nearly an hour daily. During the 3rd week's initial day, I detected a peculiar sound. Upon closer inspection, I discerned a shrill voice, the Rake's. I couldn't endure listening long enough to transcribe it. To date, I've shared it with nobody, yet it initially transported me back to that moment, though I recall no sound at the time. The mere thought of what my daughter endured fills me with anguish. Since the Rake shattered my life, I've not encountered it again, but I'm certain it has watched me as I slept. I dread the day I wake up and find it staring at me. And yeah, that was the Rake story. A lot of these stories will take up a lot of time, as like that Rake story was like 6 or 7 minutes long, and I hope you guys don't mind that, because I think putting these more in-depth stories into the Iceberg make it a lot more fleshed out and better, in my opinion. So let me know what you guys think of that. I mean, it doesn't really matter because this video is already up and has all the stories through them, but that's how a lot of the entries in this Iceberg will be like. They'll just have a lot of story to them, but I think they're interesting enough where they're not boring. Alright, yeah, on to the next one. Smile.jpg. Mouse is a notorious creepypasta based on a lost episode of the classic Disney cartoon series, Mickey Mouse. The story revolves around an animated short titled Mouse.avi, which allegedly features unsettling and disturbing content. According to the legend, the animation consists of Mickey Mouse walking through a city, while the background music becomes increasingly distorted and eerie. Mickey's expression gradually changes from jovial to distressed, and the cartoon ends with a series of disturbing images. The legend suggests that viewers who watch the entire video experience intense feelings of dread and unease, with some even claiming to suffer psychological trauma. However, Mouse.avi is entirely fictional and has no basis in reality, and there is no such lost episode of Mouse. Polybius is an urban legend surrounding an alleged arcade game that emerged in the early 1980s. According to the legend, Polybius was an arcade cabinet game produced by an unknown company and placed in select arcades, primarily in the Portland, Oregon area. Players reported experiencing strange side effects after playing the game, including headaches, amnesia, nightmares, and even S-word tendencies. It's also rumored that the mysterious men in black were seen collecting data from the machines. Despite numerous claims, there is no concrete evidence that Polybius ever even existed, and it's just an elaborate hoax purported by the gaming community. Tiki Toby. Tiki Toby is a character originating from the internet horror genre, particularly within the creepypasta community. He is depicted as a young man who wears a distinctive outfit consisting of a hoodie with black and white stripes and a mask covering his mouth. The character is often associated with a tragic backstory involving bullying, family issues, and a tragic accident involving a wood chipper, which leads to his transformation into Tiki Toby. As with many creepypasta characters, Tiki Toby has gained a significant following among fans of internet horror fiction. Candle Cove. Candle Cove is a creepypasta that originated on the website of Chris Straub, a webcomic creator and writer. The story is presented as a series of forum posts where users reminisce about a mysterious and unsettling children's television show called Candle Cove that aired in the early 1970s. Despite its disturbing and nonsensical content, the characters describe being captivated by the show as children. As the forum discussion progresses, it becomes apparent that the memories of Candle Cove are not shared by everyone, leading to speculation about its existence and origins. Eventually, it is revealed that the show's characters were actually grotesque puppets engaging in disturbing acts, and the show aired on a local channel with a limited broadcast range. NES Godzilla. NES Godzilla, Monster of Monsters, revolves around a haunted game cartridge. According to the legend, a player discovered a mysterious copy of the game that exhibited bizarre and unnerving behavior. In this alleged version, the game's graphics and music were distorted, with unsettling images appearing at random intervals. Some players claimed to hear strange voices or experience glitches that seemed to defy explanation. Additionally, the gameplay became increasingly difficult and unpredictable, with the monsters behaving erratically and the levels becoming increasingly sinister. Gateway of the Mind. And this is another story. Like I said, a lot of these will just be stories. So if I just dive in and start talking from the first person, it's not me, saying that I experienced this. It's just the story, of course. So anyways, the story of Gateway of the Mind. In 1983, a team of scientists wanted to see if they could help a person talk to God. They thought that if they took away a person's ability to see, hear, taste, smell, and feel, they might be able to connect with God just by thinking. An old man who didn't have much to live for volunteered. The scientists did a complicated surgery that cut off all of his senses from his brain. He could still move his muscles, but he couldn't sense anything around him. For a while, the man just talked out loud about what he was thinking. At first, it was hard to understand him, but then he started saying he could hear voices in his head. The scientists thought he was going crazy until he started talking about their dead relatives, sharing secrets only they would know. Days passed, and the man became more and more upset. He said the voices were getting louder and meaner, keeping him awake at night, and he was scared. He tried hurting himself to make them stop and begged for medicine to help him sleep, but nothing worked. Even when he dreamed, he said he heard the voices of the dead. The man's distress grew until he was screaming and begging to die. The scientists believed he was getting closer and closer to talking to God, so they didn't help him at all. But eventually, he whispered that God had left them all, and then he suddenly died. Jane the Killer. Jane the Killer is a character from a creepypasta story often associated and alongside Jeff the Killer legend. In the lore, Jane Arkansas was a normal girl and woman who witnessed the brutal murder of her family by a serial killer. Traumatized by the experience, she vowed to seek revenge and become a vigilante known as Jane the Killer. Her appearance is often depicted with a pale face, black hair, and a wide, sinister smile carved into her cheeks, reminiscent and very similar of Jeff's appearance. Over time, various iterations and adaptations of the character have emerged in online communities, including fanfiction, artwork, and even video games. Russian Sleep Experiment, another one of my favorites. The story unfolds in Soviet Russia during the late 1940s, during the height of the Cold War. Supposedly, Soviet researchers were conducting a highly classified experiment on human subjects in an isolated bunker. The experiment aimed to study the effects of sleep deprivation on the human mind and body for military purposes. 5 political prisoners were chosen as test subjects. Each promised their freedom if they participated in the experiment. They were sealed inside a chamber filled with a gas-based stimulant designed to keep them awake for a prolonged period of time. The researchers monitored their behavior through two-way mirrors and cameras. Initially, the subjects exhibited signs of restlessness and irritability as the sleep deprivation took its toll. However, as time passed, their behavior grew increasingly erratic and disturbing. They began to experience intense paranoia and startled to distrust one another, believing that they had been manipulated by the researchers. As the days dragged on without sleep, the subjects descended into madness. They reported seeing horrifying hallucinations and hearing voices whispering to them in the darkness. Some subjects mutilated themselves in an attempt to stay awake, while others engaged in violent outbursts against their fellow prisoners. Despite their deteriorating mental and physical health, the subject showed an astonishing resilience to sleep deprivation. Defying the researchers' expectations, the experiment continued unabated, with the researchers determined to push the limits of human endurance. However, just as the researchers believed that they could achieve their desired results, the situations took a horrifying turn. One of the subjects, driven to the brink of insanity, attacked a guard and severely injured him. In the chaos that followed, the researchers decided to terminate the experiments and open the chamber. Upon entering the chamber, the researchers were met with a scene of unimaginable horror. The subjects had descended into a state of primal savagery, with evidence of violence and cannibalism scattered throughout the entire room. The subjects' bodies were mutilated, their faces frozen in expressions of sheer terror. In the end, only one subject remained alive, barely clinging to life amidst the carnage. As the researchers attempted to communicate with him, he uttered a chilling phrase: "We are not meant to sleep." The story concludes with the implication that the true purpose and consequences of the experiment were buried by the Soviet government, hidden from the world as a dark secret of human experimentation gone horribly wrong. Zalgo. Zalgo is a popular internet meme and a character often featured in creepypasta stories. The concept originated from a webcomic concept by artist Dave Kelly called Control-Alt-Delete in 2004. In the comic, a character named Loss experiences a glitched text, which fans jokingly referred to as Zalgo text. This glitched text consisted of distorted and corrupted characters, giving it an eerie and chaotic appearance. Over time, Zalgo evolved into a character associated with horror and the supernatural. Zalgo is depicted as a malevolent entity or deity of chaos and corruption, capable of distorting reality and driving individuals to madness. In many stories and artworks, Zalgo is depicted as a shadowy feature with tentacles, surrounded by swirling vortexes of darkness. Zalgo has become a prominent figure and popular figure in online horror communities. Rugrats theory. The Rugrats theory is a popular internet theory that gained traction in online communities, particularly among fans of the animated television series Rugrats, which aired from 1991 to 2004. The theory posits a dark and disturbing interpretation of the show's characters and events, suggesting that the babies in the series are actually figments of Angelica's imagination. According to the theory, Angelica, the bossy and spoiled toddler, is the only real character in the show, while the other babies exist only in her mind. Tommy, Chucky, Phil, Lil, and the other babies are said to be Angelica's creations, representing various aspects of her psyche. For example, Tommy is a stillborn baby. Chucky died in a car accident along with his mother. Phil and Lil were aborted. And Sussy is a neighbor's daughter who Angelica never met. Supporters of the theory point to various episodes and instances in the show where Angelica's interactions with the baby seem surreal or disconnected from reality. They also draw parallels between certain episodes and Angelica's subconscious desires or fears. Pretty interesting, and it's kind of weird theory in general. Normal corn for normal people. Normal corn for normal people, and I can't say the actual corn word, just replace C with P and you got the word, but you know what I'm saying. Normal corn for normal people is a creepypasta story that circulated on the internet. The tale describes a mysterious website that supposedly hosted a collection of seemingly mundane videos titled Normal Corn for Normal People. However, as the story progresses, it becomes apparent that the videos depicted increasingly disturbing and grotesque content, far from anything considered normal. The narrative unfolds through a series of emails exchanged between the protagonist and an anonymous sender who claims to have stumbled upon the website. As the protagonist delves deeper into the mystery, they uncover unsettling details about the site's origins and the disturbing nature of its content. Dead Bart. Dead Bart is a creepypasta story that gained popularity on the internet through creepypastas and stuff like that. The tale revolves around an alleged lost episode of the animated television series The Simpsons. According to the story, the episode, titled Dead Bart, was never aired due to disturbing content in the story. A former animator of The Simpsons recounts discovering a VHS tape labeled Dead Bart among a collection of other old episodes. Curious, they decided to just watch it. The episode starts like any other Simpsons episode, with Bart skateboarding through Springfield. However, as the story progresses, strange and unsettling events unfold. The episode takes a dark turn when Bart falls off his skateboard and dies. The rest of the episode follows the characters coping with Bart's death, with scenes becoming increasingly disturbing and surreal. The story culminates in a horrifying sequence where Bart's ghost haunts the other characters. Petscop. And this is a very, very deep entry with just so much lore to it, so I'll just quickly cover this. And if you want to go deeper into the Petscop lore, if you find this interesting, there's a really good video by Nexpo who goes hours and hours into deep detail about Petscop and the whole game and the Let's Play and whatever. But here, let's just get into it. Petscop is a unique phenomenon in the realm of internet-based horror fiction. Presented initially as a Let's Play series on YouTube, it quickly gained attention for its intricate storytelling, unsettling atmosphere, and immersive gameplay. The series purported to showcase gameplay footage of an obscure, unreleased PlayStation game from the 1990s called Petscop. However, as the viewers delve deeper into the series, it becomes apparent that Petscop was not a real game, but rather an elaborate work of fiction. The premise of Petscop revolves around a mysterious video game discovered by the protagonist, Paul. The game appears to be a simple collect-a-thon, where players capture creatures just known as pets within various levels. However, as Paul progresses through the game, he uncovers hidden layers of complexities, including secret rooms, cryptic messages, and disturbing imagery. What sets Petscop apart is its attention to detail and world building. The creators meticulously crafted a fictional universe filled with mysteries, puzzles, and dark secrets. The narrative unfolds through a series of in-game recordings, with Paul providing commentary and speculation as he navigates the game's labyrinth levels. One of the most compelling aspects of Petscop is its exploration of themes and kind of scary themes related to childhood trauma, abuse, and the nature of reality. As Paul delves deeper into the game, he begins to uncover unsettling parallels between Petscop and his own past, raising questions about the true nature of the game and its connection to real-life true events and his life. The series captivated viewers with its clever game design elements to convey a deeper narrative, from glitchy textures to hidden passages. Every aspect of Petscop was crafted to create an immersive and unsettling experience. And yeah, that's the basic overview of Petscop. And like I said, there's a lot of videos on YouTube and on the internet about Petscop that go way deeper into the lore, but this was just a quick overview of it. Smiling Man. The Smiling Man is the central figure in a popular internet urban legend that originated on Reddit. The story describes an encounter with a mysterious and unsettling individual who is encountered during a late-night walk. In the story, the narrator recounts walking alone at night when they come across a tall, thin man dancing on the street. The man's unsettling and weird behavior draws the narrator's attention, particularly his unnaturally wide and continuous smile. Despite feeling unnerved and scared, the narrator is transfixed by the man's strange dance, which seems to almost unhuman in his fluidity and grace. As the narrator continues to watch, the smiling man notices their presence and begins to approach, his eerie smile never faltering. Sensing danger, the narrator quickly flees, feeling a sense of overwhelming dread and paranoia. Pokemon Creepy Black. Pokemon Creepy Black is a creepypasta story based on a hacked version of the Pokemon Fire Red game for the Game Boy Advance. In the story, the protagonist acquires a mysterious and supposedly cursed copy of Pokemon Fire Red, known as Pokemon Creepy Black. The hacked version of the game contains several eerie modifications and additions not found in the original release. These include encountering a ghostly Pokemon named Ghost, which supposedly haunts Lavender Town, a location known for its unsettling and creepy music and urban legends within the Pokemon franchise. As the protagonist progresses through the game, they experience strange and disturbing occurrences, such as encountering glitched Pokemon with disturbing and scary appearances, receiving cryptic messages from non-player characters, and witnessing unsettling events that break the game's normal mechanics. Pokemon Lost Silver. Pokemon Lost Silver is a popular creepypasta story around the Pokemon community and the haunted and cursed copy of Pokemon Silver version for the Game Boy Color. So this is just another Pokemon one that we just covered, Pokemon Black, and this is the Silver version. In the story, the protagonist comes across a weird cartridge of Pokemon Silver at a garage sale or from a friend, with the label missing or replaced with a handwritten Lost Silver label. The protagonist starts playing the game and soon realizes that it is not like any ordinary Pokemon game. As they progress, they encounter various unsettling and eerie events, such as encountering ghostly or glitched Pokemon, receiving disturbing messages from non-player characters, and experiencing glitches that distort the game's normal mechanics. One of the most iconic elements of the story is the encounter with the ghostly, corrupted version of the protagonist's original Pokemon, which appears as a twisted, glitched version of the player's previous companion. Rainbow Factory. Rainbow Factory is a popular fan-created story within the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic fandom. It originated as a grim-dark fanfiction written by Aura Dawn and posted on the website fimfiction.net. In the story, the Rainbow Factory is depicted as a sinister facility located in Cloudsdale, the city in the sky inhabited by Pegassi. The factory is responsible for producing rainbows for Equestria, but it does so through a dark and disturbing process. Pegassi, who fail to meet the standards of flight and color, are sent to the Rainbow Factory to be turned into rainbow-colored fluids, which are then used to create rainbows. The narrative follows a young Pegasus named Scadaloo, who discovers the truth about the Rainbow Factory and its horrifying operations. Despite warnings from her peers, she decides to investigate the factory, leading to a series of harrowing encounters and revelations. Rainbow Factory is known for its just dark atmosphere inside of a more happy original atmosphere, which is My Little Pony. Interesting theory. Cupcakes. Yet another fanfiction within the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic fandom. It was written by an author using the pseudonym Sergeant Sprinkles and first posted on the website 4chan in 2011. The story follows the character Pinkie Pie as she invites her friend Rainbow Dash over to her house for a baking session. However, as Rainbow Dash arrives, she quickly realizes that Pinkie Pie's intentions are far from innocent. Instead of baking cupcakes like they were meant to do, Pinkie Pie reveals that she plans to brutally torture and mutilate Rainbow Dash. God, what am I even making videos on at this point? Okay. Anyways, intending to turn her into a cupcake. What follows is a graphic and disturbing depiction of violence and sadism, as Pinkie Pie gleefully tortures Rainbow Dash while narrating her actions in a cheerful and upbeat manner. The story culminates in Rainbow Dash's gruesome death, with her body being used as an ingredient in Pinkie Pie's twisted baking recipe. Cupcakes gained infamy within the My Little Pony fandom for its extreme violence, which sharply contrasts with the show's typically lighthearted and family-friendly tone. While some fans appreciated its shock value and dark humor, many others found it deeply unsettling and inappropriate, obviously. Despite its controversial nature, Cupcakes has remained a well-known and frequently referenced work within the My Little Pony fandom. Laughing Jack. Laughing Jack is a character originating from creepypasta stories and is known for his eerie appearance and disturbing behavior. He is depicted as an entity or supernatural being who preys on children. In the most common portrayal of Laughing Jack is described as a tall, thin figure with grotesque features, including a wide, grinning mouth filled with sharp teeth. He often wears colorful, clown-like attire, complete with large, floppy hat and oversized shoes. Laughing Jack is said to target children, luring them in with promises of fun and laughter before revealing his true, sinister nature. He is known for his sadistic sense of humor and enjoys instilling fear or tormenting his victims. Some stories depict him as an entity that can manipulate reality or possess people, further adding to his terrifying nature. Eyeless Jack. Eyeless Jack is a well-known character from internet horror stories, particularly within the creepypasta genre. He is depicted as a humanoid figure with pale skin and, as his name suggests, lacks any sort of eye. Instead of his eye sockets are empty, often covered with dark, stitched-up scars. According to the stories, Eyeless Jack is a malevolent entity known for stalking and attacking humans, particularly during the night. He is said to target individuals who are alone or vulnerable, often sneaking into their homes or luring them into secluded areas before attacking. One common aspect of Eyeless Jack's modus operandi is the removal of his victims' organs, particularly their kidneys, which he purportedly consumes. This gruesome detail adds to his sinister and creepy overall vibe, I guess. The origins of Eyeless Jack vary between different versions of the story, with some attributing his existence to supernatural or paranormal causes, while others suggest that he is the result of a scientific experimentation gone wrong. Marble Hornets. Marble Hornets is a web series created by Troy Wagner and Joseph Delag that debuted on YouTube in 2009. It is one of the most well-known and influential entries in the genre of found footage horror and creepypastas. The series presents itself as the discovered footage of a film student named Jay, who is investigating the disappearance of his friend Alex, who is working on a film project called Marble Hornets. As Jay delves deeper into Alex's unfinished project, he undiscovers disturbing footage, revealing the presence of a mysterious figure known as the Operator, or Slenderman. So this is kind of another, branch of the Slenderman kind of lore, I guess. The Operator is a tall, faceless entity dressed in a black suit, very similar to Slenderman, often depicted with elongated limbs and the ability to warp reality. As the series progresses, Jay's investigation into the origins of Marble Hornets and the identity of the Operator becomes increasingly intertwined with his own safety and his own sanity. Marble Hornets has played a significant role in popularizing the Slenderman mythos, which originated from internet forums and creepypasta stories. And also, let me know down below if you'd like to see a found footage Iceberg, because I feel like that would be a great video. But just let me know down in the comments if you'd like to see that. Backrooms. The Backrooms, and I know I just asked like 2 seconds ago with found footage and the Slenderman kind of one with the YouTube thing, but would you want to maybe see a Backrooms Iceberg sort of thing, or maybe liminal spaces Iceberg in the future? I don't know, I'm just kind of yapping right now, but I think these are all kind of good video ideas inside of this Iceberg that I'm covering right now with the creepypastas. So let me know if you'd like to see the Backrooms or found footage Iceberg in the future. Alright, anyways, let's get into the Backrooms entry. The Backrooms is an internet urban legend that gained popularity on forums like 4chan and Reddit. It describes an unsettling and seemingly endless network of interconnected, monotonous rooms that exist beyond the confines of normal reality. According to the legend, the Backrooms are a labyrinth series of yellow, musty rooms with worn-out carpeting and fluorescent lighting. They are said to be accessed by glitching out of reality, often described as no-clipping, or clipping through walls in mundane places such as office buildings or schools. Once inside the Backrooms, individuals are faced with an oppressive sense of isolation and unease. The rooms stretch on for seemingly forever, with no discernible end in sight. The environment is eerily quiet, save for the buzzing of fluorescent lights and occasional distant hums. The Backrooms are inhabited by strange entities known as the Entities or the Hounds, which are said to roam the endless corridors in search of unsuspecting travelers. These entities are described as humanoid figures with distorted features and are often evoke feelings of dread and terror in those who encounter them. Alright, now on to Tier 3, Kageo. Kageo is a character originating from internet horror fiction, particularly within the creepypasta genre. The name Kageo roughly translates to shadow face in Japanese, reflecting the character's appearance and nature. Kageo is depicted as a tall, slender figure wearing a black suit or cloak, with his most striking feature being his white, featureless mask with empty eye sockets. His hands are often described as abnormally long and claw-like. According to the stories, Kageo is a malevolent entity that preys on humans, particularly those who are alone. He is said to lurk in the shadows, stalking his victims before attacking them with his sharp claws. While the origins of Kageo vary between different versions of the stories, he is often portrayed as a supernatural being or vengeful spirit seeking revenge for past wrongs. Midnight Game. The Midnight Game is a paranormal ritual or urban legend that has gained popularity on the internet. The ritual is said to summon a supernatural entity known as the Midnight Man, who is believed to haunt and torment participants. According to the legend, the Midnight Game is typically performed at the stroke of midnight in a dark and quiet location, such as a lone house or apartment. Participants must write their names on a piece of paper and prick their finger to draw blood. Then they try to place the paper with their name in front of a closed door and light a candle. The participants knock on the door 22 times, with the final knock occurring exactly at midnight. They then open the door, blow out the candle, and immediately relight it. This is said to invite the Midnight Man into the house. Once the game has begun, participants must move throughout the darkened house, avoiding the Midnight Man, who is believed to be lurking in the shadows. Participants may experience hallucinations, feelings of dread and unease, or encounters with the Midnight Man himself during the game. The goal of the Midnight Game is to avoid being caught by the Midnight Man until 3:33 a.m., at which point the game ends and participants are considered safe. However, if the Midnight Man catches a participant, they may face various punishments or consequences, as described in the ritual. Mr. Widemouth. Mr. Widemouth is a creepy short story written by a user named PerfectCircle35, originally posted on the Creepypasta wiki. The story revolves around a young boy who encounters a strange creature named Mr. Widemouth while recovering from an illness at his grandmother's house. According to the story, Mr. Widemouth is described as a small, furry creature with a wide mouth filled with sharp teeth. He befriends the boy and begins to engage him in increasingly dangerous and disturbing activities, such as playing near the edge of a steep drop-off or encouraging the boy to swallow dangerous objects. As the boy's interactions with Mr. Widemouth become more frequent, his family becomes concerned about his new behavior and the strange story he tells about the new friend. Eventually, the boy's health begins to deteriorate, and he becomes increasingly isolated from his family and the outside world. The story ends on a scary and chilling note, with the implication that Mr. Widemouth may not be as harmless as he initially seemed, and that the boy's encounters with him may have had dire consequences. The Theater. The Theater is a well-known creepypasta story that gained popularity on the internet. It tells the tale of a mysterious movie theater that only appears to certain individuals, usually those who are lost, lonely, or seeking escape from their troubles. In the story, the protagonist stumbles upon the theater by chance, drawn in by its eerie and captivating allure. Once inside, they discover that the theater is showing a film that seems to reflect their own life, memories, and deepest desires. However, as the protagonist becomes more engrossed in the movie, they realize that the theater holds dark and sinister secrets. The story explores themes of escapism, regret, and the consequences of trying to evade one's problems. Happy Appy. Happy Appy is a creepypasta series that originated on the internet and revolves around a disturbing children's television show of the same name. The story presents Happy Appy as a seemingly innocent and cheerful program that airs on public access channels. However, as the viewers delve deeper into the show, they uncover dark and sinister undertones. In the Happy Appy series, the titular character is depicted as a crudely animated apple puppet with a wide grin and large, unsettling eyes. The episodes of the show are said to feature graphic and disturbing content, including depictions of violence, death, and other disturbing themes. No End House. No End House is a popular creepypasta story that centers around a mysterious and disturbing haunted attraction known as the No End House. The story follows the experience of a protagonist who hears rumors about the No End House, a place that promises a prize to anyone who can make it through all 9 rooms. The protagonist decides to take on the challenge and enters the No End House, expecting it to be like any other haunted house attraction. However, as they progress through the rooms, they encounter increasingly horrifying and surreal experiences. Each room presents a new and terrifying scenario, with the stakes growing higher with each passing moment. The no-end house is described as an otherworldly and weird force that preys on the fears and vulnerabilities of its visitors. The rooms are said to be filled with nightmarish creatures, disturbing imagery, and psychological traps designed to break down the minds of those who dare to enter. As the protagonist delves deeper into the no-end house, they begin to question their own sanity and reality, unsure if they will ever escape its clutches. The story builds tension and suspense as the protagonist struggles to navigate the twisted maze of the no-end house and uncover its dark secrets. The Expressionless. The Expressionless is a chilling creepypasta story that originated on the internet. It tells the tale of a mysterious and terrifying entity known as the Expressionless that appears in a hospital in 1972. According to the story, a woman dressed in a blood-soaked white gown arrives at the hospital emergency room with a strange, expressionless mask covering her face. Despite her gruesome appearance and the fact that she is holding a blood-soaked baby doll, she exhibits no signs of emotion or pain. As hospital staff attempt to treat her, they discover that the woman possesses supernatural abilities and a terrifying aura of menace. She is able to move with supernatural speed and strength, and her presence seems to instill fear, dread in those around her. As the story unfolds, it becomes clear that the Expressionless is not a normal human, but rather an entity or creature with unknown origins and intentions. Mario, in all caps, I guess. Mario is a creepypasta story, and it revolves around a haunted video game cartridge of the classic Nintendo game Super Mario 64. In the story, the protagonist discovers a mysterious, unlabeled cartridge of Super Mario 64 at a garage sale, or from another source. Despite its lack of markings, they decide to play the game out of curiosity. However, as they progress through the game, they encounter increasingly unsettling and disturbing events inside the Mario world. These events include glitches, distorted graphics, and creepy messages directed at the player from characters within the game. The game seems to take on a life of its own, with the protagonist experiencing feelings of paranoia and dread as they continue to play the game. The story culminates in a chilling climax where the protagonist encounters a distorted, nightmarish version of Mario, who seemingly breaks the fourth wall to communicate directly with the player. The Strangest Security Tape I've Ever Seen. The Strangest Security Tape I've Ever Seen is a creepypasta story. It is presented as a first-person account of a security guard who encounters a disturbing and unexplicable event while reviewing security footage. In the story, the security guard is tasked with monitoring security cameras in a building during the night shift. While reviewing footage from one of the cameras, they come across a strange and unsettling scene. The footage shows a figure, described as unnaturally tall and thin, moving through the building in an unnatural and jerky manner. The figure's face is obscured, making it difficult to discern any major features. As the security guard continues to watch, they realize that the figure seems to be aware of the camera's presence and begins to interact with it. The figure approaches the camera, staring directly into the lens with an intense and unsettling gaze. The guard becomes increasingly unnerved by the figure's behavior and decides to investigate further. However, as they arrive at the location shown in the footage, there is no trace of any mysterious figure or any evidence of its presence. The story ends on a chilling and scary note, with the security guard haunted by the memory of the strange encounter and unable to explain what they saw on that security tape. Tier 4. SpongeBob Bootleg Episode. If one gazes at the image for an extended period, they'll witness a blink. This particular image was extracted from a fleeting moment in a corrupted bootleg copy of the dumped episode from SpongeBob SquarePants. Apart from this image, the remainder of the footage consists of indecipherable swirls of colors, static, or simply black screens. The accompanying audio appears to be a heavily distorted rendition of the original episode's audio, occasionally punctured by loud, droning buzzes. Discovered in December 2004 by a group of 5 teenagers exploring an abandoned mental institution, the bootleg tape's origins remain mysterious. Tragically, 2 of the teenagers have since taken their own lives. One is missing. Another refuses to discuss the tape, and the last hastily surrendered it to paranormal investigators following inquiries about the death and the disappearance of the others. The tape's current location is unknown, and those who stare at the image for prolonged periods often report witnessing SpongeBob's Blink. Marina Mordgard Glesgorf. There exists a YouTube video titled Marina Mordgard Glesgorf. Despite searching for it, no results appear. On rare occasions when it does surface, though, it's merely a 20-second clip featuring a man staring blankly, then smiling in the final moments, against any indistinct background. However, this snippet is just a fraction of the full video. The complete footage runs for 2 minutes, but YouTube removed it following 153 viewers who mutilated their eyes and sent them to YouTube's headquarters in San Bruno before taking their own lives. The method by which they managed to mail their eyes remains a mystery. Furthermore, the cryptic message carved into their forearms remains undeciphered. Periodically, YouTube reposts the initial 20 seconds of the video to deter further investigation, preventing the dissemination of the full version. Only one YouTube employee witnessed the entirety of the video and reportedly became screaming after 45 seconds. He now requires constant sedation and cannot recall what he saw. Witnesses present during his viewing recall hearing only a piercing drilling noise, too afraid to glance at the screen. The uploader of the video remains unidentified, with the IP address being non-existent. Similarly, the identity of the man in the video remains a mystery. Username 666. Username 666 is a widely circulated internet urban legend surrounding a mysterious YouTube video. According to the legend, searching for username 666 on YouTube yields unsettling results to say the least. The video allegedly features disturbing imagery and eerie audio, with some claiming it to be cursed or actually haunted. In reality, there might be various videos or references to username 666, and there's really hard to find like the original creepypasta video because there's so many copycats of this video. Rap Rat. Have you ever heard of Nightmare? Like many games from the 90s, it came with a VHS tape that synchronized with gameplay. The character on the screen would give instructions while you played. Despite my mom buying it, I refused to play due to being a scaredy cat. My brother was disappointed, but mom had a solution. Rap Rat. A dingy board game resembling Mousetrap, but with a creepy twist. We set it up, popped it into the VHS, and began. But Rap Rat on the screen was nothing like we expected. Its eerie appearance terrified my younger brother, who fled to his room. The video took a disturbing turn, with rapid-fire images of my worst fears. We turned it off quickly, but my nightmare continued haunting me. Years later, we packed up and moved in with my girlfriend. I found Rap Rat again, untouched but covered in dust. Showing it to her only deepened the horror. The video has changed, displaying grotesque scenes that chilled us to the bone. I sought answers, tracing Rap Rat's origins to a dark tale of tragedy in Haiti. The doll's creation involved a fatal accident, and a curse allegedly followed those involved. The company shut down soon after, leaving behind a legacy of fear. Warnings circulated about speaking the demon's name and avoiding certain hours. Rap Rat's influence seemed to linger, with eerie occurrences plaguing me and my girlfriend. Despite warnings, curiosity led others to seek out the video, unaware of its dangers. But I knew better, refusing to expose anyone to its sinister power. Rap Rat's presence continued to haunt me, a constant reminder of the terror it brought. Entity 303 is a mysterious figure often associated with the sandbox video game Minecraft. Legends and rumors about Entity 303 circulate in the Minecraft community, with claims ranging from the entity being a rogue hacker to a malevolent entity haunting the game, similar to Herobrine. Stories about Entity 303 typically involve encounters with a hostile figure wreaking havoc within the game world, causing destruction and chaos. Some tales depict it as a powerful antagonist with abilities beyond those of just regular players, capable of manipulating the game environment and attacking unsuspecting players. JVK1166Z.ESP. A few years back, there was a peculiar Morrowind mod that stirred up some attention, known as JVK1166Z.ESP. It didn't surface on major Elder Scrolls platforms, but rather circulated in smaller forums and role-playing communities. It gained notoriety because it appeared to be a virus. Upon attempting to activate the mod, the game would hang up on the loading screen for an hour before crashing, corrupting the Morrowind installation and any associated save files. Its mysterious nature compounded by its inability to be opened in the construction set, fueled speculation and cautionary warnings. About a year later, someone resurfaced with the mod on a modding forum, claiming to have been messaged by an anonymous sender who promptly deleted their account. This individual suggested playing the mod through DOS box, which somewhat mitigate the issues, albeit with lag and limited functionality. Notably, the main quest NPCs were all deceased upon starting a new game with the mod, setting a foreboding and scary tone. One distinct NPC named Tyrus, found in Ghostgate's temple, introduced unique aspects to the gameplay. His robe, adorned with twinkling stars, and voice dialogue marked departures from typical Morrowind interactions. Tyrus initiated a questline centered around a dungeon referred to as the Citadel, located west of Morrowind. This dungeon, descending through various thematic levels, posed significant challenges to players. Further exploration revealed eerie phenomena, NPCs exhibiting unusual behaviors, a night sky reflecting real constellations, and unsettling encounters with an entity dubbed the Assassin. As gameplay progressed, players reported increasingly disturbing occurrences, leading to an anonymous crescendo. Eventually, one player's descent into madness paralleled the game's escalating surrealism, blurring the lines between reality and virtuality. As the narrative unfolded, the mod's enigmatic nature remained unsolved, leaving a lingering sense of unease among those who dared to delve into its mysteries. Ronald McDonald House. You've probably heard of the Ronald McDonald House charity, which provides housing for families of sick kids in hospitals, but there's another, lesser-known side to it. Hidden in most major cities is a different kind of Ronald McDonald House, elusive and unmarked. I stumbled upon it myself. Growing up in Detroit's foster care system, I've never met my biological parents. At 15, labeled a bad kid, I've shuffled between foster homes and group facilities. My lastest option and latest option, military school or the mysterious Ronald McDonald House. Facing the choice, I opted for the latter. After all, how bad could it be? I'm just a halfway house named after a fast food mascot. Dark clouds hung over us as we arrived at the nondescript building. No address, no signs, no windows. Just a foreboding presence. Quote, "Are you sure about this?" I asked, doubting my decision as we entered. Inside, an eerie silence enveloped us. The receptionist, clad in clown makeup reminiscent of Ronald McDonald, greeted us. Unease settled in, but I brushed it off. My caseworker's assurance did little to quell my discomfort. Her departure left me alone in the unsettling lobby. Soon, a door creaked open, revealing a chilling welcome committee. Panic surged as I pleaded to leave the building, but it was too late. Waking up in a sterile cell, disoriented and clad in a garnished hospital gown, I felt a creeping dread. My belongings were reduced to a photo album, its contents now haunting memories of slaughtered foster families. Determined to escape, I armed myself with hidden lock-picking pins, fleeing through shadowy corridors. I encountered grotesque scenes of horror, children crucified, blood being drained, and laughter echoing through the halls. Desperation guided me as I raced towards daylight, each step a battle against the encroaching darkness. Emerging into the stormy night, I found solace in a desolate McDonald's, its eerie stillness a stark contrast to the horrors I'd left behind. As I sit here, typing this account on a found laptop, I can't shake the feeling of being watched. Ronald McDonald's silent laughter haunts me, a reminder of the nightmare I barely escaped. The Portraits is a popular creepypasta that tells the stories of a haunted mansion filled with portraits that seem to come alive. In this tale, the protagonist inherits a grand estate from a distant relative and decides to move in. Unaware of the dark secrets that lie within its walls, as the protagonist explores the mansion, they discover a collection of portraits hanging throughout the corridors. However, these portraits and paintings are not ordinary. They seem to shift and change when no one is looking, and the faces within them appear to follow the protagonist's every move. As the story progresses, the protagonist becomes increasingly unnerved by the strange occurrences in the mansion. They begin to suspect that the portraits are somehow linked to a tragic history of the estate and the mysterious disappearance of their relatives. Where Bad Kids Go. I must have been around 6 or 7 years old when I resided in Lebanon. The country was deeply entrenched in war, marked by frequent violence and killings, and Amidst this turmoil, I recall spending hours at home, glued to the television, engrossed in a peculiar children's program, lasting about just half an hour. The show featured unsettling and eerie images. Looking back, I believe it was a subtle form of media manipulation, designed to instill fear and discipline into the young viewers. Each episode conveyed rigid moral messages, cautioning against behaviors like staying up late, hiding hands under covers, or sneaking food from the fridge at night. Presented entirely in Arabic, much of the dialogue eluded my comprehension, yet the vivid and often disturbing visuals left a lasting impression. However, the most haunting aspect of the show was its closing scene, consistent in every episode. The camera would zoom in on an old, decrepit door, accompanied by chilling screams growing louder as I approached. This unnerving imagery was highly unusual for children's programming. Arabic text would then appear on the screen, ominously declaring, "That's where bad kids go." With the scene fading to black, the episode would then end and conclude. Fast forward about 15 or 16 years. I pursued a career as a photojournalist. Despite the passage of time and how long ago it was when I watched it, memories of the show continued to resurface sporadically. Driven by curiosity, I embarked on a quest to uncover its origins. Through diligent research, I managed to locate the studio where much of the channel's content was produced. Upon arriving at the abandoned site, remnants of its past lingered amidst the desolation left by war's aftermath. Entering the dilapidated building armed with my camera, I encountered evidence of fire damage and deliberate destruction. After cautiously exploring the premises and documenting what remained, I stumbled upon a secluded room. Breaking through aged locks, I hesitantly entered, only to be confronted by a gruesome sight. Bloodstains, excrement, and fragments of bones littered the floor of what compact chamber, painting a very scary scene. Yet what truly unnerved me was the sight of a microphone, securely bolted and caged, suspended from the ceiling in the center of the room. Mr. Mix. Does anyone recall a vintage PC game from the early 1990s named Mr. Mix? It's reminiscent of typing tutorials like Mario Teaches Typing, where players input words to guide a chef, Mr. Mix, in adding ingredients to a bowl. Unlike typical typing games though, Mr. Mix is notorious for its steep difficulty curve. Each level imposes a words per minute requirement, starting at a modest 10 in the first level, and then escalating to an unattainable 500 plus by the fifth. One striking feature is the unsettling background music. Level 1 features menacing growls that intensify, damaging early computer speakers unaccustomed to such volume. Level 2 is eerily silent, while Level 3 subjects players to a low-quality recording resembling a hairdryer. The final levels assault players with piercing ringing noises, causing significant auditory discomfort. The design of Mr. Mix himself adds to the game's disturbing ambience. Portrayed as an overweight man with a round face, beady eyes, and red cheeks, he instilled vivid nightmares in many children. Recollections often involved Mr. Mix speaking in a raspy voice, issuing veiled threats, though the specifics remained elusive. Psychologists noted the profound distress exhibited by children recounting these nightmares. Though not all players experienced adverse effects, despite its unsettling nature, the game languished in obscurity until recent years when hackers unearthed its ROM. Through memory hacking, they circumvented the impossible fifth level, only to uncover horrifying secrets. Attempting to bypass this level triggered a violent crash, causing the user's system with distressing images and causing irreparable damage upon deletion. The game's code contained a malevolent trigger linked to completing the fifth level. Removing it allowed access to the final level, but those who ventured there faced dire consequences. Original hackers retreated into paranoia and silence, succumbing to extreme symptoms of PTSD and eventual disappearance. All copies of the game were destroyed, but its dark legacy persisted. Years later, one of the hackers, identified through forensic evidence, attempted a heinous act. Invoking the game's sinister persona, despite interrogation, he offered only one chilling phrase: "I'm Mr. Mix. Shh." Obey the Walrus. Obey the Walrus is a disturbing video that circulated on the internet in the mid-2000s. The video features a bizarre combination of a humanoid figure dancing and a distorted, high-pitched voice singing. The humanoid figure, often referred to as the Walrus, appears to have exaggerated facial features and movements. The unsettling nature of the video, along with its weird origins, contributed to its viral spread and sparked numerous discussions and theories about its meaning and where it came from. Fallout 3 Numbers Station. The Fallout 3 Numbers Station is an intriguing and eerie phenomenon discovered within the game Fallout 3. Players stumbled upon a mysterious radio broadcast emitting a sequence of numbers and Morse code. The broadcast seemed to originate from an unmarked location in the game, adding to its mystery. Many players speculated about the significance and where it came from, with theories ranging from secret codes to hidden quests or maybe an Easter egg. However, despite extensive investigation by players, the true purpose of the Fallout 3 number station remains shrouded in mystery. The Girl in the Photograph. The Girl in the Photograph is a chilling urban legend and creepypasta that has circulated over the past few years. According to the tale, a young man finds an old photograph in the secondhand store or attic. In the photo, there is a beautiful girl, often with hauntingly captivating eyes. But there's something off about her expression or the surroundings around her in the photo. As the story goes, the young man becomes obsessed with the girl in the photograph, unable to shake the feeling that she's watching him. Strange occurrences start happening. Objects move on their own, eerie sounds fill the air, and the young man feels a presence lurking around him. Desperate for answers, he delves into the photograph's history and learns a disturbing truth. The girl in the photo was a victim of a tragic accident, murder, or some other sinister event. Her spirit is said to be trapped within the photograph, seeking vengeance or closure. In some versions of the legend, the young man meets a grisly fate after becoming too entangled with the girl's spirit. In others, he manages to break free from her grasp, but the experience leaves him forever changed. Tier 5, Chat Room 98. Hello, I'm currently lying in my bed at St. Anne's Hospital in North London. Dr. Martin generously let me use his laptop so I could share how I ended up here and what happened to me. My name is David Argentino. I'm 16, and it seems I'm grappling with some sort of mental illness. The pounding headache makes it hard to focus on Dr. Martin's words from the adjacent room. Despite the ibuprofen, this headache feels relentless, but I'm determined to get this down. So, here's what went down. About 4 nights back, I headed up to the loft to dispose of my old school books. Finished with my GCSEs, I loathed every subject, especially English. They were covered in so much dust it could have been spun into candy floss. I grimaced at the sight of them, but I knew it was time I'd lay eyes on them. I gathered them up, disgusted, considering a change of clothes afterward. Then I spotted something, a red CD-ROM case, tucked away amidst the books. It was devoid of any labeling. Intrigued, I dropped the books and picked it up. Perhaps it was a forgotten computer game left by the previous owners. Being a computer enthusiast, I was keen to give it a whirl on my Dell, but inside, instead of flashy graphics, I found a plain white disc with Chatroom 98 scrawled in black marker. Not quite what I expected, but the effort put into making a chatroom disc intrigued me. Tossing the books down the ladder, I inserted the disc. A red box materialized on the screen, devoid of any text, lingering for a moment before the screen flashed, welcoming me to Chatroom 98. A white text box opened, and on a whim I typed, "Hello." To my surprise, I got a response from someone named Darwin Clark. "Good afternoon." I doubted this was a real person. I presumed it was just a chatbot. Given my solitary possession of the chatroom disc, engaging in banter, I was amused by its seemingly human responses. However, Clark's replies took a sinister turn, hinting at a dark past and unsettling details about my own life. The encounter left me unnerved, especially when the computer glitched and messages appeared unprompted. The final message, "Look behind you," triggered a primal fear. Despite finding nothing behind me, the sight of a terrifying face on my screen sent me into a screaming fit, followed by hours of unconsciousness. Now, plagued by insomnia and haunted by that face, I'm sharing this warning. If you encounter a red CD-ROM case, steer clear. I'm considering drastic action to escape this torment. This is my tale. Beware of Darwin Clark. Pale Luna. Over the past 15 years, it has been a lot simpler to find precisely what you need in just a few keystrokes. The internet has made it incredibly easy to manipulate reality using just a computer. A wealth of information is just one search engine search away, to the extent that it's difficult to imagine life without it. However, a generation ago, terms like streaming and torrent held no significance beyond water-related discussions. People would gather face-to-face to exchange software, at swap parties, trading games and applications stored on labeled floppy disks. These gatherings were primarily a means for coast-conscious, community-oriented individuals to exchange popular games like King's Quest and Maniac Mansion. Nevertheless, some early programming talents created their own computer games to share among their acquaintances, spreading them until, if engaging enough, independently developed games gained recognition nationwide. It was akin to the 80s version of a viral video. Yet, one game, Pale Luna, remained confined to the San Francisco Bay Area. All known copies have been discarded, and the computers that once ran the game are now buried under layers and layers of debris and packaging material. This is attributed to several obscure design decisions made by its creator. Pale Luna was a text adventure similar to Zork, or the lurking horror games. At a time when such games were falling out of favor, upon starting the game, players were greeted with a nearly empty screen except for the text. Quote, "You are in a room. Moonlight shines through the window. There is gold in the corner, along with a shovel and a rope. There's a door to the east. Command?" Thus began a game that once Water criticized as mysterious, nonsensical, and entirely unplayable, as the game only accepted commands like pick up gold, pick up shovel, pick up rope, open door, and go east. Players quickly encountered frustration. Reap your reward? Pale Luna smiles at you. You are in a forest. There are paths to the north, west, and east. Command? What frustrated players was the most confusing and buggy nature of the game beyond the first screen. Only one directional choice would be correct. Any other direction would cause the system to freeze, requiring a hard reboot. Subsequent screens seemed to repeat the same text, with only available directions changing. Standard text adventure commands proved useless, as the game only recognized movement-related prompts. Most players gave up after just a few screens, discarding the game as poorly programmed and stopped playing. However, some people, like Michael Nevins, decided to delve deeper into the game. After hours and hours and hours of trial and error, Nevins managed to progress through the game, unveiling new text and eventually discovering a set of commands that led to coordinates. These coordinates pointed to a location in a forest near Lassen Volcanic Park. Aimed with a map and a shovel, Nevins embarked on a real-life adventure, following the in-game directions to the coordinates. After digging at the specified location, he unearthed the remains of a young girl, Karen Paulson, who had been reported missing. Despite efforts to trace the game's creator, the elusive nature of the software swapping community thwarted such endeavors. Collectors have been known to offer substantial sums for an authentic copy of Pale Luna, but the mystery surrounding its origins and the tragic discovery associated with it remain unsolved. Topa. Last year, I embarked on a 6-month journey into what I believed was a psychological study. It all began when I stumbled upon an ad in my local paper seeking imaginative adults and individuals for a well-paying opportunity. With limited options, I dialed the number and scheduled an interview. The premise seemed simple enough. Spend time in a room alone with sensors monitoring my brain activity while visualizing a duplicate of myself, termed my Topa. Intrigued and enticed by the promised compensation, I eagerly agreed and commenced the experiment the following day. Initially, maintaining focus on my Topa proved challenging. However, with practice, I honed my ability to sustain my presence throughout my solitary sessions. As weeks passed by, the experiment evolved. I was relocated to different rooms, subjected to disconcerting music, all while continuing to engage with my Topa. What began as a curious endeavor soon became a source of amusement. I started interacting with my doppelganger, engaging in conversations and activities, even bringing him along during outings. It was exhilarating to tap into my subconscious and unlock forgotten memories through him. However, as my dependence on my Topa grew, so did a sense of detachment from reality. I found myself struggling to connect with others outside of just my brain in the Topa, feeling superior in my understanding of human behavior compared to their uncertainty. This detachment escalated when a confrontation with a friend ended violently, as my Topa's urging, revealing a disturbing influence over my actions. Fearing for my sanity, I attempted to sever my ties with my Topa, only to find him increasingly menacing and uncontrollable. Desperate to escape his grip, I tried to resist visualizing him, but to no avail. Eventually, I was forcibly restrained and subjected to a nightmarish ordeal, trapped in a room with my monstrous Topa as my tormentor. Injected with drugs and subjected to hallucinations, I endured weeks and weeks of torment at the hands of my Topa and unseen doctors. In my haze, reality blurred with delusion, leaving me uncertain of what was real and what was a twisted creation of my mind. Finally, a moment of clarity emerged when my Topa, in a rare gesture of tenderness, touched my head before departing, leaving me to confront the chilling realization that all thoughts have power. Freed from my captivity, I returned home, haunted by the horrors I endured and struggling to piece together the fragments of my shattered psyche. But just as I began to believe I had escaped the nightmare, tragedy struck, confirming my worst fear. The malevolent influence of my Topa extended beyond just the confines of my tortured mind. Now, as I grapple with the aftermath, haunted by the echoes of dissonant music and the specter of my Topa, I confront the harrowing truth that some nightmares never truly end. Have you seen this man? In January 2006, in New York City, a patient under the care of a renowned psychiatrist sketches the likeness of a man who has frequently appeared in her dreams, offering advice on her personal life. Despite her assertions, she insists she has never encountered the man in reality. The drawing was left forgotten on the psychiatrist's desk until another patient suddenly recognized the face, claiming the same man has visited him in his dreams too, though he, too, has never seen him while awake. Intrigued, the psychiatrist shares the portrait with colleagues whose patients report similar recurring dreams. Over the following next months, 4 more patients identify the man as a recurring figure in their own dreams, all referring to him as this man. Since January 2006, reports have emerged from across the globe: Los Angeles, Berlin, Beijing, Rome, Barcelona, Stockholm, Paris, New Delhi, Moscow, and many, many, many more cities, claiming encounters with this figure. Over the 2000s, 8,000 individuals have attested to seeing him in their dreams, although, despite extensive investigation, no common traits or connections have been found among those who have dreamt him. Furthermore, no living person resembles the man depicted in the portrait. The purpose of this website is twofold: to provide support and facilitate communication among those who have encountered this man in their dreams, and to explore the identity and the significance of his presence in the diverse landscapes of so many individuals. And you watching, have you seen this man? The Diary of Mr. Welden. Hello, I am Mr. Welden. I watched the copulation which conceived you, and I screamed in horror. I saw you birth like a hatched parasite, hairless and gagging, and I gripped my teeth in hatred, sliding them over and over and over again, and again and again and again, until they were flat and smooth. I will watch you wither and grow old. As your body congeals and your weight of your years pulls your flesh from your body, I will grin and snicker, laugh and laugh. I will see your deceased corpse pumped full of superficial chemicals, interred into the dirt to feed the eyeless, subterranean creatures on the earth. I will howl, because I know where you are going. I know where you are going. I know the secrets of this earth, as I knew the secrets of the ones before. I will bring about the end, and you cannot stop me. You read these tales, and you do not know which one you will read. With each one you create and recreate, with each one you retell, with each one you claim ownership of, you beckon the end. For there you will see some across those to verify the tales. You will seek them out. Those that do so with passion will find that many of them are falsehoods, but some will be harrowing at the very end at least. Others will leave you scarred for the rest of your life. and others will still see you stripped of your flesh. And that flesh will be used to build more and more and more tales, twisted and stretched out to cry out more for curious individuals. I will smile, my teeth clenching together tightly, until one cracks with a satisfying pop, my eyes unblinking, watching everything fall into place, wide and empty, weeping and shriveling with delicious, protracted agony. I am so excited, so very excited. Even as you read this, some among you are emboldened. The sick part of you which lusts for the end, whisper into your mind, making you want to see the horror, the pain, the blood, and the death. You want to see it. You want to see what lies hidden in the dark, beyond sight, smell, taste, hearing, and touch. Come and see. I will show you such wonderful things. And, I don't really know what that Diary of Mr. Welden means, but anyone down below, if you know what any of that meant, pretty creepy, nonetheless, if that's someone's diary, like I said, leave a comment down below and explain what Mr. Welden was meaning inside of that crazy diary entry. White with red. A man went to a hotel and walked up to the front desk to check in. The woman at the desk gave him his key and told him that on the way to his room, there was a door with no number that was locked, and no one was allowed in there. Especially, no one should look inside the room under any circumstances. So he followed the instructions of the woman at the front desk, going straight to his room and going to bed. The next night, his curiosity would not leave him alone about the room with no number on the door. He walked down the hall to the door and tried the handle. Sure enough, it was locked. He bent down and looked through the wide keyhole. Cold air passed through it, chilling his eye. What he saw was a hotel bedroom, like his, and in the corner was a woman whose skin was completely white. She was leaning her head against the wall, facing away from the door. He stared in confusion for a while. He almost knocked on the door out of curiosity, but decided not to. This disinclination saved his life. He crept away from the door and walked back to his room. The next day he returned to the door and looked through the wide keyhole. This time, all he saw was redness. He couldn't make out anything besides a distinct red color, unmoving. Perhaps the inhabitants of the room knew he was spying through the night before and had blocked the keyhole with something red, like a piece of paper or something like that. At this point, he decided to consult the woman at the front desk for more information. She sighed and said, "Did you look through the keyhole?" The man told her that he had, and she said, "Well, I might as well tell you the story. A long time ago, a man murdered his wife in the room, and her ghost haunts it. But these people were not ordinary. They were white all over, except for their eyes, which were red." And oh my god, that was definitely one of my favorites creepypastas yet. I mean, like, some of these towards the end will definitely be like more like twist like that, but that was definitely one of my favorites. Goosebumps reading that. That was crazy. I hope you guys are enjoying this video as much as I am, because it would be really fun to make more videos like this, because I think creepypastas are kind of an untapped market almost. I know a lot of people still cover them online, but I feel like there's still a lot to be done with them, because they're just, some of them are so well crafted stories and horror stories, and they're just so good. Wake up. It has been reported that some victims of torture during the act would retreat into a fantasy world from which they could not wake up. In this catatonic state, the victim lived in a world just like their normal one, except they weren't being tortured. The only way that they realized they needed to wake up was a note they found in their fantasy world. It would tell them about their condition and tell them to wake up. Even then, it would often take months until they were ready to discard their fantasy world and please wake up. The dating game. After enduring an extended period of singlehood, the frustration became agonizing. At 32, the sight of friends achieving milestones like marriage and parenthood felt like a stark reminder of personal stagnation. I yearned for the companionship, the stability, and a family of my own. The mundane routine of my Burger King job and solitary life in a small studio apartment had become tiresome. Amidst the dissatisfaction, I found myself drawn to a speed dating event, eager for a change and something fun, Dressed in my best attire, which admittedly consisted of a modest dress shirt and worn-out khaki pants from a clearance sale at Walmart, I entered the event with a semblance of confidence. However, my spirits dampened upon seeing the competition. Men excluding self-assurance in designer suits accompanied by elegantly dressed women emitting an air of sophistication. As I navigated through the speed dates, the encounters ranged from unsettling to disappointing. The first encounter was with a young woman burdened by a troubled past, candidly sharing her journey to sobriety from methamphetamine addiction. Despite her honesty, I felt overwhelmed by the weight of her struggles and hastily moved on. The subsequent dates didn't fare much better. One woman was too advanced in years for my liking, and another left me feeling disheartened by her familial baggage. Amidst these disappointments, a glimmer of hope emerged with a 26-year-old nursing student. Her stability and warmth were a welcome contrast to previous encounters, sparking a genuine connection. However, my clumsiness threatened to sabotage the promising interaction, which inadvertently failed to save her contact information. Fate intervened when I encountered a woman at an empty table, her presence captivating me in ways I hadn't anticipated. Despite the darkness overshadowing her past, a tragic tale of loss and abandonment, her resilience and warmth shone through. Our connection deepened as we shared laughs over a game of pool. Her skill on the table matched only by her infectious laughter. Our relationship blossomed over weeks and months, culminating in a joyous proposal inspired by our memorable first date. Despite the shadow of uncertainty lingering over our aversion to the basement, I embraced the newfound happiness, moving into our welcoming home and eagerly planning our future together. Yet, the facade shattered when a desperate need to complete work tasks left me to the basement, unearthing a horrifying truth. A sequence of disturbing videos revealed my wife's sinister double life, a serial killer masking her atrocities behind a facade of normalcy. Shock and disbelief gripped me as her chilling confession confirmed my worst fears. In the aftermath of her arrest and subsequent execution, I grappled with my trauma, seeking solace in therapy and gradually rebuilding my life. Despite the darkness that once consumed me, I emerged stronger and more resilient, embracing newfound confidence and embarking on a hopeful journey towards love once more. Tier 6. Romanian Knowledge Experiment. In 1960, Alexander Sift, a well-known scientist, traveled to the forest of Hoi Buso, located in East Romania. The Hoia forest had a reputation of being a hotspot for paranormal activities, the main reason for Sift's motivation. He wrote many notes about his experiences there, but many were found burnt upon his death. In 1993, the notes that survived detailed his experiments on the forest with text subjects. In every one of his notes, he ended by saying, "Knowledge is harmful. Ignorance is bliss." 10 years later, the Romanian government developed interest in the few notes that survived, so they sought to recreate his experiments. 3 men volunteered for it. They were told this was simply to see how an average person would manage to travel in a foreign country, using only a compass and a light source. Of course, they were lies, as no sane man would volunteer if they knew what awaited them. They were also told that there would be a substantial reward, should they succeed. The first test subject was brought by the helicopter to the west zone of the forest at midnight. He carried with him a backpack, food, water, a compass, and an oil lantern with enough oil to last until morning. He was instructed to keep moving east until he hit a road which would lead him to a cabin where a few government agents awaited him. He was also told to stop every 30 minutes to record any and all events in a sheet of paper. He arrived at the cabin at 2 a.m. He handed the sheet to the agents and was driven to a nearby city, where he was handed the reward. His sheet read the following: 12:30 a.m. I stopped at a nearby creek to rest and eat. Being in a forest at night with only an oil lantern for a source of light really managed to scare the hell out of me. I thought I was going to keep seeing more shadows that weren't there. 1 a.m. I stopped at a little clearing to change the oil. I swear, there must be something out here following me. I can almost be sure there was a shadow that wasn't from a tree. Maybe an animal? 1:30 a.m. Now I'm definitely freaked out. I saw something staring at me in the distance. I only managed to see its silhouette, but as soon as I looked at it, it vanished. I'm starting to second doubt this experiment. 1:55 a.m. I'm on the road. I can see the cabin from here. That thing from before kept following me. The more I walked, the more it got closer. Thankfully, I haven't seen it for a while, so I figure I'll just get to the cabin without any more delays. The first subject remained in alarm for a few days afterwards, but soon returned to a calm state. The second test subject was deployed in the same spot as the previous one on the night following. He had the same exact gear, except instead of an oil lantern, he had an infrared camera. He arrived at the cabin at 5 a.m. The agents noticed he was physically and psychologically shaken. He was panting and crying in fear. His sheet read the following: 12:30 a.m. This camera really doesn't help me navigate. I even fell a few times because of it. Almost everything I see is blue and black, except for the occasional red spot for an animal or bird. 1 a.m. I don't know what the you guys put me out here with me, but it's not funny. I took a break to drink some water when I heard a rattle coming from deep within the forest. I took my camera to see what it is, but I can be sure that was no normal animal. It was big, but hunched over. I couldn't make out its details since it was glowing bright red on the infrared. I slowly walked away from it, never losing it out of my sight, even though it stayed completely immobile. I found a small ditch to hide. I guess it's better to ride it in here than out in the open. I'll quicken up my pace. The faster I get out here, the better. 4:30 a.m. I'm sorry for not riding more frequently. I just never had the chance. Shortly after the last entry, I heard it walking towards me. I hid in a small cave and waited for it to pass. I took so long because of that. It didn't leave me alone. I'll probably not ride anything else until I get to safety. The last thing I want to do is be surprised by that thing when my guard is down. The second test subject was visibly stressed and was taken to a psychologist for 3 months. The third subject never came back. He was deployed in the same spot on the next night. He had the same gear, except he had a night vision camera. When the agents were leaving the shack, they noticed a worn and ragged piece of paper on their doorstep. It had only one entry. It read the following: 12:05 a.m. If you find this, please tell my family I love them. These may be my last words. After I couldn't see the helicopter anymore, I turned on the camera to check my surroundings. I can see it 20 meters in front of me. It doesn't move as I write this. It doesn't even blink. It has no eyebrows. It's higher than any human or bear I have ever encountered. It's hunched over like a gorilla, supporting its weight on the extremities of its limbs. I can't even call those things hands. It has fish-like eyes, no pupils, pure engulfing darkness. Oh God, it's tearing down the trees as it moves. After the conclusion of the experiment, the Romanian government placed an electrified fence and guard towers surrounding the entire Ayuwoki forest. They make sure to let nobody in or out. Stairs. In 1984, an old widowed lady lived by herself in a 2-story house. She was completely immobile and bound to her wheelchair. Ever since the mysterious death of her husband, she required the aid of a caretaker who would visit her daily to help her with everyday tasks. What made it so difficult was the fact that the 2 floors of the house were only connected by an old and decrepit staircase. When the old lady needed to move between the 2 floors, the caretaker would have to carry her frail body like an infant up and down the stairs. One day, the police received a call from the widow. There had been a murder. Since police units were scarce at the time, and the murderer had already fled the scene, only one detective was sent out to conduct the initial crime scene report. He arrived to see the caretaker's body splayed out on the floor with her vocal cords ripped out, leaving a pool of blood on the first level of the house. The old lady sat atop the staircase in her wheelchair, watching him, still and silent, seemingly in shock. He immediately ruled her out as a suspect due to her inability to move up and down the stairs, and because she was trapped up there at the time the murder took place. It was similar to the death of her husband, who had suffocated in his sleep on the couch downstairs many years ago. The detective put on his gloves, took photos, swabbed for evidence, and covered the body until the coroner arrived later. All routine business. He scoped out the entire first floor for any clues, then asked the old lady if he could look upstairs. She insisted that she was upstairs the whole time and that nobody apart from her had been up there all day. Regardless of this, the detective ascended the staircase, to which she slowly and hesitantly moved aside. Beyond the staircase, there was a narrow corridor with 3 closed doors along it. He checked behind each of the doors. The empty bedroom, nothing. The bathroom, nothing. He became anxious as he slowly made his way to the final bedroom, where the old lady slept. He opened it, and everything looked normal. A bed, a wardrobe, and a bedside table with a lamp. He checked every wall of the room in horror, as it was not what he discovered, but it was what he didn't discover that made him stop dead in his tracks and slowly reach for the gun in his holster. It was a detail so minor that they had completely overlooked it on the investigation of the husband's death. There was no phone upstairs. He suddenly heard a noise. He withdrew his gun and rushed out of the room, only to find an empty wheelchair atop the stairs. Arizona. For her birthday, I decided to take my girlfriend Katie on a trip to Arizona to stay with some of her friends. We planned to have a few weeks of fun before returning to school for the year. We embarked on the journey in my dad's old Ford. Despite its worn-out condition, the road was rough and lengthy, but it seemed to strengthen our bond as a couple. It was during this drive that I realized how deeply I was in love with Katie, a feeling I hadn't experienced before. About halfway through the trip, we faced a dilemma when we realized we were running low on gas with no station in sight. Panic slowly set in as we imagined being stranded in the desert with no help in sight. Luckily, we stumbled upon a seemingly deserted gas station in the middle of nowhere. Despite its rundown appearance, it offered the fuel we desperately needed. Entering the abandoned station, I encountered a scene of neglect and decay. The store was in ruins, and an eerie silence hung in the air. Faint crying led me to investigate further, eventually leading me to a chilling encounter in the basement. After a terrifying encounter, we hastily left the gas station, but the horrors didn't end there. Strange occurrences continued to haunt us as we drove through the night, including unsettling sightings and unexplained phenomena. Arriving at Katie's friend's house brought little relief, as strange events persisted. With each passing moment, our sense of unease grew, culminating in a sense of fear and paranoia. Days passed with no respite from the nightmares that plagued us. As tensions escalated and the supernatural manifestations intensified, I found myself regretting ever leaving the safety of that car. Tier 7. New cell phone. A couple of months ago, my friend's cousin, a single mother, bought a new cell phone. After a long day of work, she came home, placed her phone on the counter, and went to watch TV. Her son came to her and asked if he could play with her new phone. She told him not to call anyone or mess with her text messages, and he agreed. At around 11:20, she was drowsy, so she decided to tuck her son into bed and go to bed. She walked to his room and saw that he wasn't there. She then ran over to her room to find him sleeping on her bed with the phone in his hand. Relieved, she picked her phone back up from his hand to inspect it. Browsing through it, she noticed only minor changes such as a new background, banner, etc. But then she opened up her saved pictures. She began deleting the pictures he had taken until only one new picture remained. When she first saw it, she was in disbelief. It was her son sleeping on her bed, but the picture was taken by someone else above him, and it showed the left hand of an elderly woman's face. Anaise's Goat Man. At 16 years old, I found myself amidst an unsettling experience in the woods of Alabama. Eager to explore the rural life, my cousins proposed a camping trip on our family's expansive property. As a city kid from Chicago, I was teased relentlessly by my southern relatives. Nevertheless, we gathered supplies, including freshly hunted food, and set off for the woods. Upon arrival, an eerie sensation gripped us. Ignoring the odd electric scent lingering in the air, we indulged in outdoor activities. However, our leisurely day took a chilling turn when a stranger, armed with a shotgun, emerged from the bushes. Though he knew my uncle, his warning about a dangerous presence in the woods left us on edge. As night fell, the atmosphere grew tense. Strange smells and unsettling encounters plagued us, culminating in a terrifying realization: an uninvited guest had been among us, unnoticed. Panic ensued as we grappled with the eerie events, seeking refuge in the safety of our cabin. Throughout the night, bizarre occurrences continued, punctuated by chilling screams and eerie voices outside our door. With dawn, we hastily departed, haunted by the inexplicable events that had unfolded. Looking back, I can only hope it was just a prank or a figment of our collective imagination. Yet, the lingering fear and the uncertainty remain etched in our memory, a testament to the inexplicable mysteries of the fateful night in the Alabama woods. The Wyoming Incident. The Wyoming incident, or the Wyoming hijack, is a lesser-known case of television broadcast hijacking or hacking. A hacker managed to interrupt broadcasts from a local programming channel, believed to serve several smaller communities in the county of Niobrara, and aimed his or her own video. The video contained numerous clips of disembodied human heads showing various emotions and poses. The camera position changed often, usually every 10 to 15 seconds, and the video was often interrupted by a special presentation announcement. This clip is taken from one of these intervals. The video is mostly locally well known and would probably not even be that popular if it were not for the effects it had on the few residents who watched it for an extended period of time. Complaints included vomiting, hallucinations, headaches, etc. from watching this, while some believed it was a paranormal. Specialists have determined that the cause of these afflictions were frequencies played regularly throughout the broadcast. In the clip, the frequency being played is somewhere between 17 and 19 hertz. This range of frequency, when played for long periods of time, causes the eyes to suddenly vibrate, sometimes inducing visual hallucinations. This video is significant and is that one of the most recent television hijacking. Such actions were rare, even in the 80s, and are even more rare today. The hacker has not yet been caught, and all attempts to trace the video have proven futile. God's Mouth. I panted quietly as I gazed into the cavernous opening known as God's Mouth, feeling akin to the big bad wolf poised to intrude upon the three unsuspecting little pigs. Amused by the analogy, I scanned for Margaret, finding her a few steps away, clutching a walking stick close to her chest. "Come on, hurry up," I called, turning back to the cave entrance with a smirk. The worn-out sign warning, "God's Mouth Cave, keep out," seemed trite to me. Margaret finally joined me, visibly fatigued. "Hand over the water bottle," she demanded wearily, taking a sip as I watched in silence. Amidst the moment, a sense of contentment washed over me. Despite the cliche surroundings, I chuckled to myself as I thought of the God's Mouth and wondered about the location of Jesus' anus, though Margaret didn't share my amusement. After a brief pause, she voiced her discontent with our choice of destination, questioning the legitimacy and comfort of our venture. Despite the echoing of my voice against the cave walls, I attempted to justify our visit, citing her interest in nature. However, her frustration was palpable, and I couldn't help but feel guilty for dragging her along. As we ventured deeper into the cave, the oppressive darkness surrounded us, with only my small flashlight to pierce the abyss. Despite the eerie surroundings, I found an odd comfort in the jagged formations of the cave. Margaret, however, was much less enthralled, expressing her fatigue and discomfort. Realizing our predicament, I attempted to lead us out, only to find myself disoriented and unsure about the path we had taken. Panic set in as we wandered aimlessly, the cave seemingly closing in around us. Margaret's pleas for reassurance fell on deaf ears as I frantically searched for an exit, only to be met with dead ends. In a moment of despair, I discovered a chilling truth. There was no escape from God's Mouth. As darkness enveloped us, I was left to confront the grim reality of our fate. Illuminated by the dying beams of my flashlight, and in that dim light, I saw the horrifying truth of our demise. A scene unfolding before my eyes as God's Mouth claimed its latest victims. Tier 8. Upstairs. When I was a child, I lived in a rented 2-floor house. Both my parents worked, so I was often alone when I came home from school. One early evening when I came home, the house was still dark. I called out, "Mom," and heard a voice say, "Yes," from upstairs. I called my mom again, and again got the same "yes" reply. I felt she was calling back at me, and I climbed up the stairs. When I reached the first floor, I called her once more, and the voice, "Yes," came from the furthest room. I felt uneasy though, but a strong urge to see my mother, and I started to walk towards the room. But just at that moment, I heard the front door downstairs open, and my mother come in, carrying a lot of shopping bags. "Sweetie, are you home?" my brother called in a cheery voice. Hearing her voice made me feel instantly better, and I turned back to go downstairs at once, but not before I had a quick glance towards the room. While I watched from the top of the stairs, the door to the room slowly cracked open. For a brief moment, I saw something strange in there. a pale face staring at me. Thanks again to Surfshark VPN for sponsoring today's video. Remember to click the link down below or scan the QR code and use code SNOOK for an extra 3 months. And alright, with that wraps up the Creepypasta Iceberg Explained. I really enjoyed this video. I know I've said that a few times now, but I did. This was very interesting to me, just because I think the storytelling of it was really fun, and being able to like research and reword these stories was really fun. And I would love to do something like this again. Like I said, backroom sort of video would be fun. Also, found footage Iceberg would be really good in my opinion, if you guys want that. And thank you for watching to the end. This is almost 2 hours long, so you've been sticking through it for a while now, and this is a longer video. But let me know if you guys like longer or shorter videos. But yeah, this was a lot of fun to make. Thank you for still watching, and until next time, see ya.